Good morning, and also good afternoon, good evening to some. It's great to hear how it's going. And if you have your Paris glasses and how your experiments are, we're going to start today with a short animation revision of yesterday's session. In this spiritual model, we see the physical world as a drama stage. The soul is the actor, and the body is like a mask. There is natural freedom from expectations in a story. This is easy with spiritual sight, the paras intellect, broad, subtle, and divine. This is a big secret to life. We see everything is good and everyone is good. With paras glasses, this is a drama, it becomes neutral. Starting position, all are divine. In contrast, Pata is stuck with just the story. Attention on the home and the starting position is like light. With Pata, light is just on the drama, so gets impressed and attached. So in essence, we have the option lower consciousness of the beggar, the victim, and the slave, or the higher consciousness, the invisible traveler who is never a beggar, never a victim, never a slave. That paras spiritual sight helps with this. The invisible traveler comes to the physical world with the feeling to give. This was like a reminder, and we need many reminders, even though it's principally simple. And I love what Proust said, that the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. I would be happy to hear your experiences with this. Meanwhile, going to welcome in Prashant, and good morning.
Hello and good morning. Thank you for the quick revision. We'll create a few more minutes of experience. We now understand that we have the option to see with our spiritual sight. As was said, like new glasses. And we are able to see that on one side is the great story, complete acceptance. The story is every moment is amusing. No one complains in a story. So when we understand it's a story, there is no dependency, no bondage, no attachments. Game changes completely. Such a big secret to our riddle. And then we are connected to our world. And our world is alaukic, unearthly, world of complete silence, world of light. But this is the world of the family. home of the family, home of immortality, where all know that they are immortal and they are beyond harm. One is they know they are without needs and they are without any harm. That frees them completely from anything inauspicious. Never the victim, never the beggar. Such is the world and such is the family. That's why we can say this is a world of peace and world of contentment. Everyone is content. No vibrations of desire, desperation, or disappointment. So what remains is silent bliss. All are like this and always the divine personality of everyone. It is this alaukic environment that helps the true self to become conscious. And when he is conscious, he understands his truth. For him, it is normal to be like a tiny star. It is normal to be immortal. Normal to be that invisible witness, that presence. It is normal to be so independent from the story. He finds it strange to mix his life with the story. He finds it normal to belong to that supreme sky. Normal to belong to this great family, and all belong to this family. No one can ever be an outsider. That's why it's the region of love and happiness. All belong and all are safe, all are immortal. We realize that truth is beautiful. Truth for everyone is beautiful. All we did was just use the best intellect, and the world changes, and the game changes, life changes. Thank you. Today, our focus will be discussing science. That is the aim. But before we come to the subject of science and trying to understand where does science fit in here, that is our aim. We are talking about invisible world and invisible home. And this is a story and the invisible traveler. If this is all, is it a belief? Do we need to just believe it, or is it just another, faith? Or is there some truth behind this? And where does science fit in here? We'll try to understand this from the from that angle. But anyone would like to share your observations or experiences? This is a good chance.
Now everyone wants to know about science, but yes. Well, what you said, what was shared yesterday, that we are building muscles. The practice just now, it is, yes, someone written, not a belief. It's nice. So our own experience is in a way our own proof, isn't it? So applying an idea and then experiencing it, once we build the muscles, we have a laboratory ourselves, don't we? The mind. But yes, some it's not a belief; it's a feeling of freedom. Very beautiful. Why is there so much envy, jealousy, and bad will? That's a big question.
Envy in the world, or where is the envy? Also, encouragement for more to, of course, come in the interaction, encouragement to type your thoughts, questions, but also come in the light also. And those who are able to, it becomes more of a gathering. So
It was why is there so much envy, jealousy, and bad will among people? So in the world, among people.
sure, we saw it in our first day discussion. We saw that once we cross that line and we enter into dependency, and then we are ourselves the victim and the beggar. And then that is a desperation inside. When one is in the victim, one himself is insecure, there is a desperation. He will break any rule to make himself secure. And so we saw that day the insecurity, how it leads to all our unpleasant feelings and emotions and then behavior. But we also saw the answer starting from ourselves, that we we change our attitude. We don't need to create any dependencies here. We saw that. And if we even reduce the dependency, those reactions become less.
And amongst all stars, I feel lesser, well, less, different, and inferior. It's not true, right?
At when when we cross the line, then all the other feelings will come: superior, inferior. When we step behind the story, there is the greatest equality. In the story, someone is a king, someone is not a king, and someone is with a long nose, someone is a short nose. That is the way the drama is. Drama is meant to be variety. Step behind the drama, there is greatest equality. So when we cross the line, both superiority is wrong and inferiority is also wrong. That is just a sign of having crossed the line. So we'll come to the subject of understanding our ideas from the angle of science. Some simple things. First thing, that the understanding within science and philosophy is that this world is a lot more than what our senses can perceive. I am using this line to represent the entire world that exists. And let us say here is a caterpillar trying to understand this world. But this caterpillar can only touch. It has got just one sense of touch. So the world it can ever know is a small world. World is huge, many things in this world. For example, if you don't have ears, then there is no sound for you, bit like that. So this caterpillar can only hear, can only touch. There are other animals with more senses and they can know more of the world. So their world is bigger. Human beings, we have got five senses. And through my five senses, I can know even more than the caterpillar. But human beings got five senses only. And the world that I can see through my senses, we call this the physical world. It also means there is a world that we cannot access through my senses, this entire world. There may be some other animals got more senses and they can access more of this world. And we know this also. Even your cat and dog knows more. Those who have cats, dogs, you know this. And how do they know this? Because they have different senses. Pigeons can come back to the same tree from a distance of 18 miles under experimental conditions, which means they can't use eyes, they can't use smell, they can't use ears, but they are released 18 miles away and they still can navigate their way and come back to the same tree, crash land on the same tree. So what are they seeing? We don't even know what they can see because we don't have the senses for it. So this world, for human beings, it is non-physical world. Non-physical is a real world. It is just my problem. Just as caterpillar, it can see just some part of the world. So also human beings can see some part of the world, some part they can't see. Now, this methodology of science limits itself to the sense perception. Just that is the way the system is, and as a result, science cannot study the area that is beyond that limited physical reality. So lots of research happens in various areas, and it is a very good methodology. And then the scientists say it is very good research, very good observation, but we can't use it because we can't interpret it through the system of the senses. And then as if we can't use it. That is it is all true, but we can't use it. This is the language. We don't expect science to change in a big way. It cannot. That method cannot change. But if we want to know the truth, we may have to go beyond science. That is the first thing for us to know. Science as a system is not meant to give us the truth. It can know lots of the secrets about the matter, about the physical world, but it won't know the complete picture. Now, within the world of science, there are people like Professor John Eccles. John Eccles is a brain specialist neurophysiologist, and he got Nobel Prize for medicine many years ago. Late John Eccles. And his writings, he uses the language soul is using the brain. He uses some quantum physics understanding to show how the psychic function, which is the thought, is converted into neural function, which is the electrical activity, which is the first sign of the brain activity. So that is a shift that has to happen. And we get a thought, but then the brain starts acting with that thought. So he shows these are here is John Eccles. He knows everything about brain and what brain can do, and he says he cannot explain what brain can do just by saying that it is all the wires connecting, and just because there are many wires, they can do all these functions. He uses the language soul is using the brain. I'm using the name of Eccles because his name is known and got prizes. But in the world of science, you will get many people who think differently. They don't say science will give you the truth. They know science has limits and there is a world beyond. In the last 40, 50 years, lots of research is happening in the out-of-body experiences. Means many people get these experiences of seeing themselves separate from the body, out-of-body experiences. And what happens when you meet them, what they say, they saw themselves separate from the body. They were looking at the body from outside. And sometimes that experience may last for a few minutes. And some people were worried, will I be able to get back in the body? But they saw the consciousness separate. By their calculation, 6% of the population at one point experience out-of-body experience. So it is far more common than even what I thought, which comes to almost 50 million people on this planet have out-of-body experiences. There is another observation, and there is a body of scientists studying in this area, and that is near-death experience. And these are people who experienced death, and some of them were given death certificates, and then they come back to life again and share their experience. And there is a pattern seen. And again, sometimes if you go into the internet, listen to some of these accounts, we can give you some cases if you want to observe, watch, and their account. And that gives you an idea of what is possibly happening here. Near that experience. What is also interesting, when they have this out-of-body experience, near that experience, lots of them speak of immense bliss. So the moment they step out of this, there is normal status of bliss. That is what it appears like. And when they come in the body, there is actually limitation. Our body is not a problem, but we get into that mindset. We cross that line, and when we get in that mindset, the stone intellect comes over, the patthar intellect takes over, and then we are not experiencing what is very naturally for us the state of bliss. We will be seeing now one short video on reincarnation. This is like a nice uh, video for us to see how just the existence of the invisible traveler, the reality of it, in a very interesting way. In 1962, one young psychiatrist in Virginia, and his name was Ian Stevenson, and one mother came to him with a 4-year-old boy, and this boy was talking about another life. So Ian Stevenson tried to get as much information from this boy, and based on that information, he was able to locate the family where the person had died, and that life he was remembering. He studied that case also, including the post-mortem examination and whole thing, every detail. And he found that more than 40 facts that this child was talking about matched with the reality of that other person, including names of the people there and the address. That's why he was able to locate the family. He knew secrets of that other family also, which not many people knew. He published this in the journals of America, and there was lots of interest, and he got grants to study this, and more he published, he got more grants. So he was able to study this whole phenomena on a big scale with the other parapsychologists in other countries. And so it went on to all 5 continents, the cases. It is not just you hear some case and then it is research, means you have to go there and choose good cases and then follow them up. And these children, he has to see that they don't go and visit other family. Then they are good cases. And during his lifetime, he had more than 3,000 cases, good cases, where children remember another life. In Virginia now there is a division, they call it Division for Perceptual Studies in the university. And there are other people looking after it, and they have got more than 24,000 cases, good cases. And that 3,000 is a big number, 24,000 is a very big number. With this number, you can see a pattern, different patterns, what is happening. And if you read about Ian Stevenson, if you type this in the internet, you get connected to his pages, his books. But today we are going to see how injury from one life, its signs, its relevance is seen into the next life. How we are going to see this? We are going to see the video. His one book is called Birth Defects and Reincarnation. So here it is not just a memory. Child is saying, "Oh, I remember this." That maybe in the science world you can say that is a bit, you know, We don't know. He's just speaking this. We don't know what he was speaking yesterday was. But these children are born with scars, and they have connection with the injury in the earlier life. So that's something very physical evidence about this. As an example, if someone is shot in the head, in the next life, that boy will have a circular scar on the head at the same, exactly the same spot. In very interesting case, one lady was stabbed, and it was a murder. She died of 27 stab wounds on the back. And a child is born in the same village, and this child has got 27 blood red scars on the back. Same spot. Just the body is very small, the body is big, but all the 27 blood red scars on the back. And this child also tells the name of the person who killed her in the earlier life, another lady. So we'll see here, a short video, interview with Ian Stevenson.
Professor Stevenson has studied hundreds of birthmarks and birth defects in children who claim previous lives.
I'm particularly interested in a collection we have about 15 cases where there are 2 birthmarks corresponding to bullet wounds of entry and exit. And forensic pathologists know that nearly always if you shoot somebody, the bullet wound of entry is small and round, and the bullet wound of exit is large and irregular in shape. And that's the way our birthmarks, in about half of these cases, they correspond exactly that way.
This boy was born without a right ear, but with memories of the life of a man who was shot in the head.
He remembered the previous life of a peasant farmer, this was in Turkey, who went to sleep at the end of the day in a pasture, and a neighbor came along hunting rabbits, and in the twilight mistook this sleeping peasant for a rabbit and shot him with a shotgun at point-blank range. We were able to go to the government hospital where the wounded man had been taken, and there we found a report showing that he died about 10 days later of hemorrhage in the brain. And this boy had memories of this man's life and his death.
The skull of a Turkish miller killed by a blow to the back of the head with a flour shovel. This picture is from the official post-mortem report. Later, a child claimed to remember the miller's life. The boy had a misshapen skull. Violent death occurs frequently in Stevenson's best cases. He speculates that the trauma of such a death may cause it to be remembered. This Burmese man recalled a previous life as a notorious bandit who was captured and executed for murder.
The hanging was bungled so that he had to be hanged twice. And the subject, who had the memories of this brigand, was born with a almost absent lower jaw. His mandible was exceedingly small, and his mouth was very narrow and tight, so that he really can only take liquid food, and he can't open his mouth. But birth defects of the kinds that we have in these cases are uncommon, and they're not the sort that you find in the textbooks of birth defects, the monographs, with rare exceptions. A few of them are, but most of them are not.
In a village in northern India in the 1970s, a small boy lost the fingers of his right hand in a fodder chopping machine. Later, the child died, but in a neighboring village, a boy was born who claimed memories of the dead child's life. There was other evidence too. Lekpal's case was investigated by Dr. Stevenson and the Indian parapsychologist Dr. Satvant Pasricha.
अच्छा लेखपाल, पहले जन्म की बातें याद है तुम्हें?
यहाँ पैदा हुई थोड़े कुछ बाद, तब छोटे छोटे थे, तब थोड़ा याद करो करते थे। फिर इलाज चलते रहो जैसे पिताजी ने मो को ऐसे इन शराब गांजा पियो करते थे उनने ऐसी मशीन फिराई दी तो हाथ वो कटियो हम तो वहीं खड़े रह गए उंगलियां पांच उनके सामने गिरी जान तब एकदम बड़बड़ाने भी सब कि लला हाथ कटियो तब एकदम
तब तुम्हारा नाम क्या था?
हुक्म से
इस पे नाम लिखना।
Except the very clear in demonstration how injuries are seen, but a big question arises: how come the scars go from one life to the other life? That question. I'll quickly try and explain what exactly may be happening. We can call it a speculation. So what we are seeing here, that is one person here, he dies and a child is born. The only common factor is the invisible, conscious traveler. Only common factor is the soul. And it is that invisible soul is the one who is continuing in the next life. That is the most important. That's what we are saying here. It is a journey of the invisible traveler. It is not the journey of the body. Now, with the soul goes many functions. All the cognitive functions are in the soul. For example, experience, that is happening in the soul. And so here we are seeing that experiencer is going, with all these other functions with it. Let us take a scenario where in this life, at the last moment, there is an injury and he loses the fingers. Let us say last moment. He loses the finger and that is fine, but that creates an impression at the conscious level that I'm without fingers. And that impression goes with him. I'm without fingers. So we are seeing this one phenomena here. That impression goes with the invisible soul. And second phenomena we are observing here is that impression has an influence on the body. It is happening at a conscious level, influences the physical world in a big way. And there is a pattern. So if there is an impression there that I'm without fingers and the soul comes in the womb, he actually makes the body lose the fingers. That fetus loses the fingers and is born without the fingers. And his book, Birth Defects and Reincarnation, he shows hundreds of cases. These are not just a few cases. He shows all kinds of cases, hundreds and hundreds. And so it is a real pattern there. And in some religions, there is an understanding. Last thoughts matter. Last thoughts go with you. Last thoughts leads to your destination. So here we are seeing that because last impressions, if it is in this case a bodily injury, that impression goes with you and it creates a reality. That gives huge insights to the science world. If scientists, those who are parascientists, it gives a big insight. And what is the insight? The consciousness will affect the body we are seeing here, consciousness affects the body. It can also affect the body positively. We need to know what are the functions we have to understand here and put right. And if those functions are put right, then it will be positive at all levels, including the body. Because whatever impressions that are created at the body, it will affect the physical world. Not going too much into in this, but enough for us to understand this. Earlier, we also spoke of the physical world and the non-physical reality. Let us take that discussion a little bit further. Here, let us say our aim is to understand who is I. And here we are taking the example of a man who says, I'm here right now. And he also says, I was in school. I was 7 years. Now I'm 70 years. I am the same one. That's what he says. You might say, I am the same one who was in school 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but I'm here right now. Okay. Who was in school? And the medical evidence tells us that every molecule here, let me change this color. Medical evidence tells us every molecule here is different to the molecules here. Body is not same. Body is changing constantly as we breathe, as we drink, as we eat. Body is changing. And medically, we can make a very clear statement. Not one atom there belongs here after 10 years. But the person says, I was the same person. So where is that person? Now we can use the word experiencer to be very clear about this person. Person, one who says, I'm the person, let us say experiencer. So where is this experiencer if the atoms and molecules are different? It is the same experiencer. And so the experiencer has to be from the non-physical part of the world. If at a physical level everything has changed, but he says I'm the same person, that experiencer himself is invisible experiencer. So when we are using this language, invisible traveler and invisible witness, it is very, very grounded, very rational. You are not going into this just some kind of a belief or faith. There is some truth behind this. There is foundation. It has a huge benefits, as we see. You become free from that victim in mind, but it has positive results because there is truth underneath. If it was not, roots are not in truth, it will not have positive results. Let us hear some thoughts from you also. I want to add a few things here. We said, okay, here is the invisible soul, who is the invisible traveler and is the experiencer. And we are emphasizing this function of experience. Now, based on experience, are our emotions. Based on experience are our memories. Based on experience is our personality. We are all different because our journey has been different. We have different experiences. Based on experience are my habits and tendencies. You will see the thoughts happen through the medium of experience. So we are seeing the most important functions within a person. Decision making, who is taking decision based upon experience will be your decisions. One who doesn't experience, he is not going to take a decision. These are central, functions, what we call life and consciousness. And that is happening at this level of the invisible traveler. Brain and all is used by this pilot. Pilot is here. This invisible traveler is the invisible pilot, and he uses everything else, including the brain. So nothing in the body, initiates a decision or has emotions or has memories. It is coming from. We've got another case, and which we maybe another time we'll create time to watch it. And in this case, 2 people died. This is in a village in India. One, her name was Sumatra, the one who died, some village in India. Her name was Sumatra, and her name was Shiva. Both died, one of the accident, one of asthma. And then after some time, this Sumatra, she came back to life. She opened her eyes, she started talking. And then she said, I don't know any of you here. But right now I died at somewhere else, of the accident. So what had happened really, the soul, invisible soul from Sumatra had moved over here, had come in this body. She's still alive, and this parapsychologist has followed her for every 5 years, what is happening, the pattern. And we got a video on that also. So the soul came in this body. And then that case went to the court, and the doctors and police, they had to study all this. And what is happening after all these years? She says, I'm not Sumatra, I'm Shiva. Just the body is different. That's what she says. I have changed from that body to this body. Don't call me Sumatra. And she said, I don't know anything about this Sumatra. That life, I don't know. What she was doing, I don't know. Don't ask me anything. But she knows everything about Shiva. And not only that, even her language, it is same language they are speaking, but the accent is different. Sumatra was a village lady and she did not know to read and write. Shiva was the daughter of a head teacher and she knew to read and write. So in this, after changeover, she can read and write, and she has different manners. In other words, it is 100% Shiva. That personality is continuing in the body of Sumatra. Gives you one case of this kind, gives you an idea where the memories are, where the cognitive functions are. They are not at the level of the body, they are happening at another level. And these are cases shown on the BBC. What you saw today, interview with Ian Stevenson, that was shown on BBC television.
amazing how there are answers with spirituality. Otherwise, there are just so many phenomena that can't be explained. So you're saying experience is coming from the thought itself?
The thought becomes the medium for experience.
Oh. Interesting. Question. There must be a reason why this type of last thought appears. If the karma with the fingers is settled in one life, the last thought cannot arise and create problems in the next life. Maybe it's more of a comment.
Yeah, it is good. It means, those who are, we are talking here of creating a awareness, becoming conscious of the invisible traveler, and that you are not a body, you are just passing, associated with the body. It's a story world. Yesterday you took the example, there is Mary playing the part of camel. Camel loses a finger, camel loses the finger. Mary is not losing the finger. If Mary is very, very conscious, her last thought will not be that I lost a finger. No, it is the story. In the story, camel has lost a finger. But when she crosses the line and thinking, I am the camel, the last thought is fully, literally, not just a losing finger, even the slightest scratch will come in the consciousness, as if someone scratched me, this kind of thing. And those impressions will go. But more you are, in the higher consciousness, your impressions will be very different. Last impressions will also be very different, regardless of the drama and the script. We are going to see another video now, and it will be based on just one Harvard University professor. He is doing research. He's an associate professor in medicine, research in meditation. He calls it a relaxation response, because in medicine there is something called stress response, and this is like a opposite term, opposite of the stress response. That's why he calls it relaxation response.
The technologies over my own career of 40-some years was always developing, and we were using the latest technologies to see whether we could better define this mind-body reaction that we had labeled the relaxation response. Frequent fMRIs came along, and work done by Sarah Lazar, for example, at Massachusetts General Hospital showed that there was a specific quieting of the brain in certain areas of the brain, less activity, less noise, when the relaxation response was being evoked. And then she found that the brain actually became thicker as people got older, when normally it became thinner. As we get older, we forget things and what have you. Well, the brain became thicker in people evoking the relaxation response. Then the last 10 or so years, we've been attempting to answer the question, does the relaxation response alter your genetic activity? What are we talking? Genes. Genes are the fundamental building blocks of the body. All our enzymes, all our biochemistry are based on genes. For example, and it's changing second by second by second. Not changing the genes, but the genes' activity influence activity in your brain, and that activity in turn influences your body. You are a different person today for having seen me talk these several moments. What you've learned has changed you. And it changes, things are changing simultaneously as things are learned. And sure, you're not going to change the genes themselves. That they determine whether you're a male or female, whether you've got dark hair or light hair, whether you're tall or short. Sure, the environment influences that, but the basic genetic structure you inherited, your genes. What we measured was the genes' activity. What we did, and this was done in collaboration with Dr. Tuvia Lieberman and other people.
Yeah, just a summary of his work, and those who he trains the subjects, sometimes patients, sometimes students. They practice meditation for 4 minutes each day for 6 weeks. And he studies them and sees their benefits at various functions, including health functions, and all positive. That many, they have to reduce the medication for these people. 4 minutes practice in a day. But some of these practitioners, they are practicing for years, and 15 minutes or more. Simple meditation methods. And he sees that the brain thickness in certain areas increase. And there are some people who practice for more than 5 years, and they have created more time for meditation. And he sees that in them, their genetic expression changes. Means genes are there, but there are certain genes that are closed because of stress, and good qualities, they are closed, healthy genes, and in this case, those healthy genes express. So genetic expression changes. He is also saying we cannot change genes in a big way in one body, but certain genes can be made to express. And this has relevance because some of our health problems, their roots are in genes. For example, certain asthma, certain arthritis, the roots are in genes. So if at that level changes take place, then you can expect a big miracle at any age. So that is also we saw. But it is like a positive change, and then there are many other functions are connected with the genes, and you can expect magic. I was thinking of creating some time for practice, but before that, some if there are any questions.
Maybe the topic of thought. How does thought function inside? The seed root of thought. Different languages function in the non-physical parameters. Can we get to the essence of thought? Do you understand the question?
Yeah. So thoughts are happening as we are seeing here in the non-physical, invisible traveler. So we can observe that happening in ourselves, thoughts. And we think it is non-stop. We exist, we think, therefore we exist. It is almost like that, non-stop. Our aim is just, instead of we running in a direction of ignorance, in the darkness, to bring ourselves in the direction of light, so that our thoughts are influenced by the environment of light and clarity. This is the change.
And, thank you for that. What about the rebirth of plants and animals?
is there rebirth in plants and animals? Okay, I'm going to just a little background in the discussion on this subject. When we are talking about this physical world and this whole creation, in this world, there is something called matter. Stone has got matter, 100%. There is something else called life energy. In biology, the term vital energy is used. And that is another thing. It is not matter, it is something more. It is not energy of matter. You burn something, it creates energy, it creates heat. It is not that. That is the life energy. So plants, they have matter plus the life energy. Chinese key, the meridians and all are studied. That is the energy of Qi, CHI. And in India, they use the word Jiva, Jiv. It is all the same. It is the life energy. And plants have life energy plus matter. Your body organ, liver organ, it has got matter plus life energy. But if that organ is taken out and after some time you can't plant it back, you can't replant, you can't do the transplant because it may die, and that organ dies, which means matter is there but life energy is not there. So the effort is to preserve that life energy, then you can transplant it. Then there is third factor. What is the third factor you want to tell? There is matter, there is life energy, and what is the third factor?
Good question. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a question. You get a prize if you get a right answer.
Consciousness, soul, intellect, energy. Well, we've got energy.
Yeah, answers are right. But we are using the word experiencer today. So life energy, it is not experiencing. It is life. It is another kind of energy, but it is still at that level. But experiencer is something different altogether. Experiencer can come when there is matter plus a healthy life energy. If everything is in balance, then the experiencer can play his part. He can use that body and that environment. If the life energy is unhealthy, that is when the death happens. There is some kind of imbalance. Our medical world may not be, the Western medical world is not fully uh, informed of this life energy, details about it. Because it is invisible, we are not studying it properly. We are not studying about the experiencer or about life energy. We study about the matter. But some medical practices, they understand correctly, incorrectly, but maybe partially they have the understanding of the life energy. But someone who has thorough understanding of it, he will understand that life energy, how to make it healthy, how to nourish that, and then body can be healthy also. And then the experiencer comes in. Experiencer is invisible, 100% invisible. So when we are talking about the invisible traveler and when we are talking about the soul, we are talking about this experiencer. Animals and humans have the experiencer. plants, they don't have the experience. Plants have matter plus life energy. Stone, it has just matter. It has not got the life energy either. So animals, humans, we need to have all three. And the reincarnation happens only in that experience. So it doesn't happen in plants, but it happens in animals. It can happen in animals. It can happen in human beings. It's a phenomenon. So we know that it can happen, but we don't know how much it has happened, to whom it has happened, but it can happen.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Our parents are two different souls. So how does this impact on the traveler? I'm not sure if I grasp the question, but
Yeah. It is the body level. Things are, traveler is a completely different journey. It is not connected to the parents. It is not connected to the genes. It is not connected to the body even. Body is just used as a support. And when the soul comes, his consciousness affects the choice of the genes and the details maybe.
thank you. How does the experiencer exist out of the box as there's no experience there?
Yes, just like you can listen to the music, you can go to the music room and listen to the music. You are the experiencer. But then you can come to your other room where there is no music. Because you are the experiencer doesn't mean you have to experience non-stop. The experiencer can come in silence and not experience. So there comes a time when we may be not experiencing what we're experiencing all the time. We may be experiencing silence, and same thing can happen.
Someone has written, research shows that plants react to people who give them sorrow. Just a comment, I think, but
Yeah, but it doesn't. We don't know. They can see certain, mechanical reactions, but they come to some conclusion based upon that. But plants, um, yeah, plants are not telling anyone that they are having any experience.
there's no soul. We don't know about the intelligence part, but there's no soul. Yeah. Okay, so I think there are no other questions right now. So maybe good to experience.
Yes.
Thank you.
Most important aspect for us, just coming back to the basics. Even the discussion today, it can take us into details, which is good, but also important for us to pull back. And when we pull ourselves back, we are reminding that here is the story. What we experienced from morning is a story. And Prashant talking, that is also happening in the story. And it is a theater. And when we step behind, we understand that is where the real world is. This is the world of the true family. We are seeing this expanse. All are like living stars in this world. World of fullness and perfection. Living stars, all are immortal, all beyond harm. We see the reality of this dimension. We understand the reality of this, and we understand the importance of this world. This is the home, so it is important. Certainly more important than the story. And this dimension is timeless, eternal. In this environment, the true self becomes conscious. And for him, it is normal to be like a tiny, tiny living star. It is normal to be immortal. Normal not to need anything from the story. Normal to be content forever. Normal to belong to that family of souls. They are alike. Normal to belong to that supreme sky. Normal to be so separate from the story world. Story world is separate. It is not his story. Normal to be independent from the story. Normal to be the detached witness, detached observer of the story. Normal to be happy forever. He knows he's very lucky. He knows everyone is lucky. As we continue on our journey, we remember the extraordinary truth of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. We could create time for rooms unless there's anything you wanted to add. We have rooms. Michelle, can you?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Would you like to have rooms?
Yeah, we go for the rooms.
Yes. The question could be, how does science help you to understand deeper spiritual wisdom? How clear am I about the invisible dimension? I put that in the chat and something you can reflect on, waiting a few moments now. And we will just, okay, just need to check. If you're in the wrong room for your language, there's a help button, but I think it should be fine. And we encourage you to come in camera and also giving chance for all to share as always. So enjoy and we'll see you back in just over 10 minutes. Thank you. Hello, welcome back. Let's create a few moments of this experience of the experiencer beyond the stage. Thank you. Checking the sound is good, having fun with technology. Space age music. So now be very happy to welcome in Belinda, who's connecting with us today from South Africa. For her, it's afternoon already, and it'd be great to hear your reflections, response from today. So yeah, very welcome.
Thank you, Sarah, and hello to everyone. Yeah, it was in our group, it was interesting because I think at one level, science has been so closed to these spiritual ideas. And it's really very encouraging that we have examples from science where different individuals have been moved to explore the invisible dimensions that really support and in some ways validate the spiritual ideas. But of course, the greatest validation is in fact our own experience. And I found the illustration on the different levels of sense perception to be very helpful, because it really shows us that the five senses of the human being are in fact very limited to matter itself. And here we are exploring experiences of a completely different nature, and for most of us, very different to what we've done, for many, many years of our lives, where we've been completely engrossed in the world of matter and our understanding of what reality is and what actually exists. And here we are using a different intellect, using the Paris intellect to grasp things that are not just subtle, but it's showing us really a different reality. And it's the experience that, as it deepens with our practice, it's the experience that is the most powerful. And they say experience is the greatest authority, and we can see how it applies here. So these moments that we dedicate to going deeper into experiencing and also understanding this very subtle being that is who we are. This answers so many questions that I think many of us have in our lives. Things don't quite add up when we look purely at the scientific world. And then I think someone in our group was saying that, there's some things you just know, even though, no one's ever told you, but there's this inner sense of knowing. And I think that many of us have had this thought that there has to be more than just what we are seeing with the physical eyes, that it's, it's just, it feels too superficial. And so really, really encouraging each one of us to take time between these sessions and just experiment and sharpen that Paris intellect, because that is the tool that is going to take us into a deeper experience. And as I said, the experience then becomes the authority. So I think I'll stop there. Thanks very much.
The essence, the context of sharing all of these perspective of science is in a way to bring us back to ourself. Is a sort of a validation, because it's now almost like a belief system or an ism, but to realize that it has very clear indicators. And there was a book written in 1975 by Dr. Raymond Moody, Life After Life, and that's where the term NDE, the near-death experience, was coined. And so many who had had NDEs could at last see what it was. There's no vocabulary, no context, nothing in the world would mirror back to them what it was. So imagine the relief. But for all of us, we've all had, as Belinda said, some experiences you just cannot explain with a materialistic model. So yeah, very reassuring, but use it to come back to the laboratory of our own minds and experience that subtlety. So yeah, I appreciate the sharing. Thank you. So now I'll welcome back Prashant. Thank you.
Thank you. I wondered if Belinda would be willing to conduct meditation in a coordinate if you are free.
Yes, sure. So we just have a few moments now, Prashant.
Yeah.
Mm. So our first step is to shift from that but the intellect that is so focused on the story world, and shift to that subtle intellect of Paras. This enables us to see the true self, that tiny, invisible traveler from a very different dimension, from that golden sky, beyond everything physical. Experiencing the eternity, the immortality of this spiritual self, completely separate from the story and the roles and all the P's that we looked at, people, possessions, places. This invisible traveler exists completely independently, is not an extension of that dimension of matter, but is able to be in that silent dimension, aware of both the story world and this subtle sky, able to be the witness of everything in that story world, aware of the presence, experiencing that inner stillness, the silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda. So welcome back, Prashant.
Hello. And I want to ask if there are any other comments from others, any questions from others.
Recognition that we have these experiences such as deja vu and memories that we can't account for, Someone saying they know the words to songs they've never heard. But they're different phenomena, but no questions right now. Thank you.
I'll tell you one story, and just connected with the science, and gives us some idea how things work, things happen in the world of science. So here, one man is selling eggs. The person who is selling eggs, his name is Nasruddin. So some may know this story. There are many stories around Nasruddin. One scientist, one expert, academic, he comes to the shop where Nasruddin is selling eggs. Professor, and one professor comes to the Nasruddin. Nasruddin makes a fist like this, and says, fist makes a cup with his two palms, and says, make a guess what is in my palm, what I'm hiding within my palms. And the professor, he puts on glasses, and he thinks for a while, and then he says, it is Jinga Coca cake, and that is some African cake, rare cake. No, I will tell you. I need to tell the story a bit more detail. So the professor says, give me a clue. I will tell you the what is in the palm, but give me a clue. So Nasruddin says, okay, I'll give you the clue. More than one clue. It is white in color. It is roundish in shape. It has got yellow and white inside. It can be used in cooking. It has got something to do with the hen. So the professor says it is Jinga Coca cake. And what is the message of this story? That the experts miss the obvious. You are in the egg shop that is selling eggs. There is nothing around. Or eggs, different kinds of eggs. He is selling eggs. There is nothing else there. There are no other African cakes there. And but what his answer is, by the description, it all fits in with the details. But these are rare things. But that is where the experts tend to go and miss the obvious. Here also, I see this happening all around. In fact, this is our story. We may not be necessarily from some science, department, but our society is largely from the science. We are products of science, and we think in the same way. And here we are dealing with the self. We are dealing with our world. We are dealing with the physical world. We are dealing with the temporary world. We are missing the obvious. We are not seeing what is, even these reincarnation cases that we saw, and even Stevenson and their division department, they continue to get more cases, more interesting cases, more good cases. And not one of these cases go in the medical books. It doesn't go in the science books at all. As if it is, that department is nice. You carry on with your research, and what we are teaching is something very different. What we are practicing is something very different. We are talking here about life and consciousness and experiencer and the body. And and it has repercussions. We are talking about the impressions they create, they influence the body. Consciousness has influence on the body. We saw research from Harvard, how consciousness influences body, genes, brain. But you don't see it in the mainline science. We are missing the obvious and take some peripheral areas and go into. In essence, we have got Patthar institutions, just like there is Paras intellect and Patthar intellect. We have got the political world. It is Patthar political world. We can't expect suddenly to have Paras politicians if the 100% of the community is Patthar. We can't expect Paras scientists if 100% is Patthar. All the institutions are Patthar. And if we are to bring about change, it has to start from ourselves. We have to understand the immense value of this shift in consciousness in ourselves. The intellect has to change, consciousness has to change, and bring about a bigger change in this world. We have the option to make the world Paras. The spiritual model says it is easy and it is something we can see it happening. One bird flies, second bird flies, the whole flock flies. So it is not it's 8 billion, how are they going to change? No. One bird flies, you fly, you understand the secret and apply it, and then the flock flies. We'll also hear from Sarah.
Yeah, I was really enjoying this story reminder. It helps simplify, and we get to really trust the instincts that come, and maybe for all of us throughout our lives, sensing that maybe the obvious is missed. But the big challenge, isn't it, to the deep-rooted paradigm if an idea is built on a premise, and what Ian Stevenson in his research and similar research is undermining it, it actually disrupts the belief systems and has far-reaching consequences. But the good thing is we don't have to wait for institutions to change. But taking the virtue of the scientific mind, like the rational premise, we're not working with belief, we're working with a rational idea and then experiencing it, and that becomes our own authority. And also the scientific method of accuracy, and that is a wonderful quality that is also necessary in spirituality, which I know will be discussed further. So, that is something we can be inspired by, but also combined with not missing the obvious and realizing the power of each one of us to bring Paris alive and bring it to life. As was shared in the chat, be the change to begin the change, which is nice. So some queries have come up. Shall I ask now?
Yeah.
Do you believe that perhaps some scientists know more about spirituality but can't expose certain information as it may be detrimental to their careers?
Yeah, that happens. And some people wait until they are retired to show their interest or their convictions.
Absolutely, they have to stay in the metaphorical closet and then they can be safe when they retire. This is definitely seen. And someone's commenting, appreciating that we take with us the experience to the next when we leave the body. So it also brings into question some continuity, accountability. So maybe we pause here, come to time. If there's something final you want to share, Prashant, also homework would be always good.
Yeah, and homework for us is continuation from yesterday. We mentioned about Paras and the practice, understanding the big map. We underline that Paras has the broad intellect and has the subtle intellect within it. It changes the game completely. It is almost like with Patthar, you are only able to see the tail of the elephant. With Paras, you can see the whole elephant. And now you can see the tail and you can see the rest of the elephant. You understand the context, what is happening. Same here. When you see with Paras, you are seeing the journey, complete journey, and whose journey it is. And everything becomes beautiful, rich. So even if we said 4 minutes, you are playing with it, those 4 minutes become rich 4 minutes because the invisible player, he understands his wonderland, alaukic wonderland. And then he also sees the physical world as a extraordinary story. Every moment is a gift for him as it comes because he is free. That story world cannot harm him. It completely changes the positioning. The inner mindset itself changes to the noble mindset. Noble, divine, these words we can use for that mind and that perspective. Yeah, have fun.
Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Enjoy experiments. Thank you.